Hello.
You're not finna sit up here and eat
I'm not.
Cheez-Its.
I'm just moving them. Actually,
They shouldn't even be here because it's gonna start moving. You're gonna see one. You're gonna think you can eat it. This is just like when we were at the visiting your church for the first time, and you were like, "We can't eat in here," and you pulled out them daggone snacks.
Hello, my name is Mrs. Melanin.
And I'm BELEAF Mel.
And we're here with episode 137 of
How Married Are You? All right, my name is BELEAF. This is Yvette, and we've been married
12 years.
Live in California, and we got
4 kids.
Relationships scary. It's very necessary. We share our love of struggles, and we ask how married are you? Every week on a Thursday, shoddy. If you're listening, you're in the wedding party. It's okay if you want to put your hands up. You got the questions, we got the answers.
It's chocolate baby story time.
Chocolate baby story time.
It's chocolate baby story time.
1, 2, 3, and oh, my bad. Relationships are scary.
They're very necessary.
But
Hey.
no. And it's very necessary that we share all of our struggles, and we're struggling. And relationships are scary. I just wanted to make sure we,
Emphasize the lyrics?
Yeah.
It's chocolate baby story time.
All right. The other day, we were leaving church, and church was church, but we were walking away, and it was 3 older Black women. And they were looking at Anaya, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, she is just the most gorgeous little girl. She should be a model." And they were basically catcalling our daughter. And Anaya is just blushing, Black girl blush. And she was like, "Oh my gosh, she is so beautiful. She knows she's beautiful," and da-da-da-da. And so we started walking away, and I was like, "Anaya, they said you were beautiful. What do you think about that?" She was just like, "A lot of people say I'm beautiful." And I was just like, "Why do you think they say that?" She was like, "Because God made me that way." And I loved it. It was beautiful. Just like her.
Yes.
What you got?
So the other day, I'm always driving with the kids, going to different places or whatever. And, they always are like, "Go, mom, go." Like Anaya and Uzi mostly are like, "Go, mom, go." And I'm like, "Y'all, do you see the car in front of me? Do you see the fact that the light is red?" Like, there are different rules of the road that I have to follow in order to get to where I'm going.
Yeah.
Well, the other day, I make a right turn. And Uzi goes, "Mom, the light was red." And I'm like, "Boy, you can make a right turn on a red light."
Yeah.
But I was like, now you want to know that the light is red? He's basically like, you're breaking the law.
Yeah.
But I thought it was funny.
So funny. All right, guys, we are
Not friends.
Are we not friends? That's dramatic.
I feel like you're perturbed.
Last week's conversation got my blood boiling because I listened to you. I watched other people listen to you, and so many women agreed with you about your grievances with not taking full advantage of your season of singleness.
Mm-hmm.
And as you talked last week, and I got to hear so much of your heart, I was very proud that you were able to express that. And I was like, dang, that is awesome that she can say that. And I did feel sorry for you. But I may be wrong, but I think I would be 100% right. And a lot of men would agree with me that nobody wants to hear their wife say that. I got these buttons, y'all. I'm trying to
You really do be
implement
getting
them.
those buttons.
Nobody wants to hear their wife say that.
Mm-hmm.
That's like, now, if you say it once or twice or, whatever, that's different. But to hear it over and over for a while, it gets exhausting. And I don't want you to not be able to speak your mind. And I know that's what I'm basically keeping you from doing by telling you how I feel when you say certain things. But I'm just being honest, be like, man, that's like some stuff nobody really wants to hear. And what it felt like to me was, you just expressing yourself, and really wishing you took more advantage of that time. But I want to kind of, I don't know, discuss that and then, two different sides of the coin. I think it was Tia or Tamara, or which one was it?
I think it's Tia.
Tia Mowry or
Tia.
Right? Talking about her divorce, and then Michelle Obama talking about her marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Do you have anything to say?
I'm trying to remember that this is a podcast and that y'all don't necessarily deserve everything. So I'm trying to be careful because I don't want to waste time with this not being a podcast we can publish. But I will say, I will say this. I will say that I didn't necessarily realize. I know I have said it before, but I didn't realize that I had said it so frequently that at that point it like just got to you. And so for that, I feel bad because I didn't realize it was something that was coming out as frequent as it was, as you say it is.
Well, it wasn't always, it doesn't come out frequently. It's that the phrase is big. You understand? Mm-hmm. Like saying, my life wasn't supposed to be like this. You know what I'm saying? Like that phrase is like, okay, Mm-hmm. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. And so I will say your reaction to me expressing myself didn't make me feel, it made me, I regret. I don't necessarily know if I have a lot of regrets, but my mom has often said to me, Yvette, some things you don't have to say. And I feel like that was one of those things. And I saw one person comment, I think it was on Instagram, they're like, she says that and she's, whatever. And I say that and I'm sleeping on the couch. Like she felt like if she were to say that to her significant other, she would have to sleep on the couch or whatever. And so while I'm grateful that I didn't have to sleep on the couch, I still don't necessarily feel like, I guess there are just some things that I should just keep to myself. Like, I don't feel like I should have said that. And I don't know. I don't know what to say. And I know where it comes from because as I read through the comment section and as we've even had a conversation with another couple about it, it comes from a place of women carrying a majority of the domestic load. Mm-hmm. And we reach points of exhaustion and we reflect on a time when no one was depending on us at the rate that they're depending on us now. And when you become a wife, it's fine, right? Like it's not as great of a burden. I'm going to say burden or load or whatever. When you have children, it becomes heavier, right? Because these are people who are not full functioning adults who can do some things for themselves. Now they're reaching a point where they will eventually be more independent and you gonna talk about my Cheez-Its and then pull out some keys.
Did you hear it?
Yes, I did.
You didn't hear
I heard
nothing.
a rattle.
You didn't hear anything.
Rewind the tape, Jed.
Jed,
Hear it. I hear it.
can you go?
What am I saying? I just feel like we carry so much of the domestic load that it's weighty. And I know you're going to say something like men have to worry about providing and securing and all the things. I totally understand that. But you're still working with adults majority of your time. And so, I don't know. I feel like all of us, we just wish there was a period of time when we could move and make decisions and there wasn't other people that were impacted by those movements or those decisions in the way that they are now.
Yeah. I wouldn't say that. I'm gonna mute you for a sec. I wouldn't say that. I would say, hey, we're providing. Men provide, and that's also a burden. I would say that for me, I can't speak for men in general, but I would say that for me, there isn't a grasp of what I experience. Like there is no, like the only way for you to understand what I'm going through is if you experienced it, you know? And I think both sides have the same, like you could say the same thing about your situation, you know what I mean? But I'm not wishing that I was in your position or believing that you have it better. I believe that it's equally as hard as what I'm experiencing. And I'm trying my hardest to make it not as difficult for you, you know? Sorry. And so what I am experiencing is I'm not looking back and being like, dang, I wish I would have made this part of my life better or made, you know, more rambunctious and bad decisions. And I know that's not what you're saying. You know what I'm saying? But I am definitely experiencing a form of responsibility that do not feel equipped to manage. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And my only response is to get more precise, get more mentorship, more fellowship, ask more questions, work harder. You know, my response isn't, if I had a time machine, you know what I'm saying? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. Did I say that? Am I
No.
saying that I would go back?
Would you?
No. I just said I didn't get that opportunity. I don't know. I don't know if we should talk about this because I'm starting to get irritated. I think we need therapy.
Okay, we can change the subject.
Yeah, I think we need to.
All right, so with the magic power of the pause button, we have returned after like an hour of realizing that I'm not going to speak for you, but I would say that I think I ended the discussions by saying that being understood is overrated. And, you know, sometimes, I'll let you talk.
I'm not necessarily sure I believe that being understood is overrated, but when it comes to marriage, there was another video or TikTok, because Lord have mercy, I don't know how this podcast going to sound when it's all said and done, but originally there was the Tia Mowry and her husband are getting a divorce, and there's an interview where she says something to the effect, and forgive me if I'm butchering what she says, but she said something like, I realized it was over when I started like seeking my happiness, or something to that effect. Do I have it right?
Yeah, like when I started choosing myself and my happiness.
Yeah. And so I was like, okay, so let's make that the topic. Like, let's talk about that. Mm-hmm. And then Glenn was like, well, I feel like that's a continuation of our conversation last week. And as we sat there and thought about it, it was like, yeah, that is kind of a continuation of the conversation, because I think, well, the thought that I had is like, is it the other person's responsibility to make the individual happy? Like, whose responsibility is one's happiness? And I think when it comes down to it, our happiness is our responsibility. And I do believe that the people that we decide to share our lives with can impact, I don't even know if happiness, because I feel like happiness and joy are different. Like, I feel like happiness is contingent upon what's happening. Mm-hmm. It's momentary, it's fleeting. I feel like joy is, when you take it back to that old hymnal, this joy that I have, the world didn't give it and the world can't take it away. I think that stems from a deep sense of contentment that a lot of us sometimes lack. Even as I'm sitting here talking, I'm thinking about my own contentment and what has led me to reflect on the missed years of singlehood, if that's even the correct way to phrase it. But I think my own lack of contentment has caused me to reflect on what could have been. And that as I continue to live out life with Glenry, that there is a sense of ownership that I have to take of my contentment. And I think that is something that I am in process of doing. I feel like that is something that I've been working toward for a very long time. I feel like there is a lot of work being done, and I may even be overstimulated to the point that I'm not even able to enjoy the present. Does that make sense?
What do you mean overstimulated?
Like maybe I'm doing too much work on myself, trying to, like, I'm doing couples therapy, individuals therapy. I went away for a 3-week intensive. I'm doing spiritual direction. I'm doing, nutritional health. Like, there's a lot of different things that I am doing in order to work on myself. And I don't know.
I don't know if there's a such thing as too much work on yourself. I think there is a specific season when that is probably most realistic, because when you work on yourself and there's changes to be made, you can make those changes without it affecting anybody else's way of life or experience or need to rely. But when you begin, and this is why we always advocate for therapy, and I'm new to advocating for therapy as much as I am now, but advocating for therapy before you get married, because you will find yourself trying to pull foundational Jenga pieces because they aren't oriented the right way, and risking toppling the massive relationships or whatever the situation is. And so I don't think there's a way for you to say, okay, yeah, I can only work on, like, I'm working on myself too much. Like, I don't think that's true, but I do think how it's done is important. So, yeah.
I think that is a huge part of it too, because when you're single and you're working on yourself, like, I am a very, like, when I process things, I need time.
Yeah.
And for me, I come out of therapy back into the hustle and bustle of motherhood and all that life's responsibilities come, to be. And so I don't necessarily get the gift of time to be able to even just process that. Like I was about, yeah. And so anyway, maybe that's not the case. Maybe it's not a possibility of doing too much, but I do think there is a time for everything, and that maybe this is not necessarily the season that I can fully embrace the healing. I don't know how to.
I don't understand that. Are you equating? Yeah, I don't know. I don't, to me, what it seems like is like so many of the seasons that change. Like when I tell you, yo, it's only a season, you're like, yeah, but then it's forever then, because we can't go back. And I think that as I'm watching you, go from a college student to wife, mother, business owner, right? I'm watching you never have that season again, over and over and over again. So when your seasons change, they change forever, And so when I'm telling you it's only a season, you're like, it's not only a season because it'll never be the same, And so as you grieve the past or whatever and realize all that stuff, for me, I'm just kind of like, we can get that back to me once we, put certain things in order and, or make it to a certain age, empty nesters, I don't know if we'll ever have the mental capacity of singleness because you're always concerned and thinking about your children and grandchildren and nieces and nephews and all that stuff. But I do think there is a huge time for us to look forward to.
And I feel like I often say that I look forward to growing old with you and doing life in that way. Like I really look forward to being a grandparent in some strange way. But yeah, I just think that for all of us women who relate to each other and the feelings that I expressed in last week's episode, the goal is not necessarily to be single without kids. And please know that I know that all of us love our husbands and our children. And if you're not married, you love your children and you love how they make you better. Like I genuinely love Glenn. I genuinely love my children. I genuinely love this life that we get to live together. We were finally getting up our Christmas decorations this past weekend, and I was kind of just sitting and watching and decorating and realizing Like, I have a house, a home that I get to call my own and make festive how I want to make it festive, and create memories with my husband and my kids that are ours. And that in and of itself is a gift. And so I think each season offers us a gift. I think that being single, unmarried, without kids is a gift. And being married with kids is a gift. And the ability to find joy and contentment in each season makes room for, I don't know, it makes room for grace in mourning seasons past.
Yeah.
Does that sound stupid?
I mean, it's not. It doesn't sound stupid, but it's just something that I am incapable of grasping. You know.
In your life, is it your story that every season has gotten better? Because I just like, there's just nothing that you miss.
Well, you're talking to someone who was suicidal for most of his life. So I wanted to kill myself often. And that was like my status quo. And so not really having a reason to live or a family I felt like I belonged to. You can understand why when you say some of the things, it triggers me because I didn't belong anywhere. You know what I'm saying? And so it's not that my seasons have gotten better, but as I've allowed the days to progress and not give up on life, I have been grateful that I gave the next day a chance. And so I am extremely captivated by waking and like living life with the kids and you, and being able to do the mundane things, watching my friends, family members not make it, give up early, make terrible decisions, which impact their lives. And so what is there to look back on? You know what I'm saying? For me. And then you also talking about a time before I knew Jesus.
Yeah.
So you're talking about a unruly person who, even when I was doing the right thing, I couldn't get it right. You know, often found myself in trouble for stupid stuff, being hit for stupid stuff. You know, living at the whim of someone's patience. And then finding this life, which has afforded me not only purpose, but talent that I never had, belonging to a community, a family. And I don't look back and wish I was who I used to be or in that season where I wasn't even making, even when I was, you know, in a relationship with the Lord, and before I knew you, I still wasn't wise in my thinking, making decisions that was best for me. And I was really trying, you know, like I didn't want to go to school. I went because that was the thing you did. I started doing music. It was just all a gamble and a risk. And so my life on this side is so much more full. No, it's like no way. I look back and kind of like, man, I wish I had nothing. You know what I'm saying? This is nothing I look back on. that's why I say, like, I don't necessarily need anybody to understand that, you know? And if you are able to understand it, then that's a blessing. That is a true gift. I believe trying to get people to understand your point of view, right, is almost futile, because they will never understand until they're in your shoes. It's similar to the conversation before we had about the gym, the kettlebell, and the weight, right? Like, you got it when you picked it up. You know what I'm saying? And at some point, it's like, I don't want you to understand.
Even you sharing that, though, like, I've never been in your shoes, but you sharing that was very insightful to why what I said triggered you so much.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
And it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. And I will say that you have made my life better. I feel like you have made me a better version of myself. You've challenged me in all the right ways. It's the scripture, iron sharpens iron. I believe that God brought us together just to do that. And I'm not saying that my life before you was better. I'm just saying it's one of those things where it's like you long for an experience of whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
I do feel like there's quite a lot of privilege being a man when it comes to, like, I do believe that as many things as I had stacked against me, I still had a choice on whether or not I was going to step out and take a risk. Like moving to California, when I had that opportunity to do it, was a huge risk. And not everybody has that opportunity. But I knew that if I got in the right position, I could possibly make it better for myself or make a right decision. You know what I mean? And I think, you know, and this is just my thought because I'm not a woman, you're putting out all your cards and you're kind of like, yo, just take my cards and I'm hoping that you're going to play the hand well, you know, when it comes to trusting someone with your family, your future, your all that. Because, you know, if we have a child and move to this community and, you know, who knows, you know? And so just know that I'm not making any of those decisions based on my own desires or my own ambition. It is strictly for the growth and development of our family in the community that we are surrounded by. You know what I mean? And not even really for them. You know what I'm saying? It happens to benefit the community, but it has more to do with our family. And I definitely am a little bit more on the cautious side before I make decisions. But it has nothing to do with, like, because I want to, you know? Yeah, I do love you. I am, you know, I wish, you know, part of me, like, when I see and this is not to relate you to any animal or anything like that, but if I see a bird in a cage, like, I want to let it free, you know? And so I wish that you could have scratched that itch, because I don't want you to wonder, you know? But it's in our nature to dream, you know? The only thing I look back on and I'm like, if I could go back, I would go back. It's only so that I could hone skills that I was lazy with, you know, hustled harder here, learned how to type, read more, did Hooked on Phonics back when Hooked on Phonics was a thing.
It's still a thing.
You know, right. But like, those are things I look back like, dang. And that's a privilege. Like, that is a privilege that you don't have to think about, because not just because you probably stored your time better, but, you know, I don't know why, but it's hard, man. Like, it's hard hearing you say that. It's hard me being like, dang, well, why didn't you just do that? You know what I'm saying? You know, not that I want to be with anybody else, but I'm just like, even if it was a gamble that you would lose me, it still would have been worth it not to wonder, you know? Because I don't know what mind frame I was on back then, or if I would have been like out there, but I wasn't like thirsty for relationships during that time. You know, I had made a list, and that was the list.
Yeah, but for me, it wasn't worth it to take that gamble. And I don't regret my decision. Like, I think I'm positive I made the right decision choosing a life with you rather than trying to be all whatever. But yeah. I love you.
Love you too. You want to do like Melissa makes us do? Embrace.
I think the next episode that we put out will be if you are single, how to steward your singleness well. Don't you think that would be a good topic?
I feel like we talk about that in the e-course.
Okay.
You remember dating yourself? We're working on an e-course, guys. It's called the Premarital Advantage. And it's all about, before you get married, these are the conversations you want to have with your significant other. These are conversations you want to have with yourself. These are things you want to explore with yourself. These are just really good things to think about, you know? And it's kind of like, if you don't go to premarital counseling, or you want to supplement it with something else, this is a great resource for you and your partner to just kind of, you know, investigate each other and make sure you're making the right decision. Or even if you know you're making the right decision, just, you know, making sure those questions that are lingering in the back of your head are answered.
Yeah.
Or at least thought about, investigated, and researched.
Yeah. How married are you, babe?
I'm so married. I got home late last night. I think I got home at like 2. It was late. I made me a salmon egg sandwich with that fancy bread you got.
Oh, you did? How was it?
It was a little much. That bread was like cake.
Okay. Yeah, well, guys, I went to the grocery store hungry, and I saw a TikTok before I went. It was for like a French toast casserole. Is that what it is called? You know those French toast things that you just make with bread and you put them in the oven? And so I was like, oh, I'm going to make it. I have not made it. I have had that bread for at least a week.
Yeah, that bread about to start turning green.
But it was good. Maybe I'll just make myself a sandwich or something.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. It was very like sweet and fluffy. So I was just like,
that sounds great. With some butter?
I had cream cheese on it.
Pop it
I was tripping at 2 a.m.
I can't even believe you ate. I would have just gone to bed.
I was so angry that I was here so late.
Yeah, I didn't.
All those boxes I had to break down. Anyway,
I saw them. You didn't put them in the recycle. You put them in the trash and the recycle.
Yeah, there wasn't enough room. So anyway, I came home and I noticed that you already had cleaned the kitchen.
Thank you.
So I cleaned up all of my dishes, and I didn't want you to wake up in the morning and see more dishes.
So I did notice that there was a pan on the drying mat, and I was like, how did that get there? So that was you. Mm-hmm. Good job, babe.
Made myself some
I
eggs.
really appreciate that, because that would have been very frustrating.
All right. How married are you, babe?
I don't know if this is a good one or not, but I chose love over violence.
When?
So the other night, we are sleeping. And all of a sudden, can I say?
Yeah, go ahead.
Glenn farts. But it's not one of those farts that just slips out. It is like I had to push this out type of fart. And what I really wanted to do was just reach over and like smack him. But what I did was I turned on the fan so that the fart would blow away from me and all toward
It was crazy.
him. I was so irritated.
Sometimes I'm sleeping and dreaming, and I'm like, I dream that you got up and walked out of the bed. And as that was my dream. It's like you weren't there. So I let one go.
It was juicy. I was like, if this hits my nostrils, I will die. So let me turn on a fan.
Well, you were up. You weren't asleep.
I know, because you want to know what it is. Remember how the nutritionist is like, well, do you be eating sweets before bed and yada, yada, yada.
And you wake up at 3 o'clock every day.
Yes. Because my blood sugar. Y'all, don't be eating sweets before bed. And
But if you want to make a sandwich before bed, an egg and smoked salmon sandwich,
just wash your dishes after.
Yeah, wash your dishes.
And that's just how married we are.